Rome, the heart of the Christian world, and yet, behind these marble walls beats a heart of sin. It's the late 15th century, an age of divine faith and mortal hunger. Priests preach virtue by day and indulge in vice by night. Gold buys forgiveness, desire buys power, and secrets buy survival. In this holy empire, one family would rise higher and fall harder than any before. They came from Spain, yet conquered Rome. They spoke of salvation while tasting temptation. Their name became a whisper of both admiration and fear. The Borgias, a name soaked in ambition, desire, and poison. Their power was built not just on faith, but on flesh, not just on politics, but on passion. And as their influence spread through the Vatican, the line between holy and sinful began to blur, until even Rome itself trembled. So, tonight, we step behind the velvet curtains of history's most scandalous dynasty, a family that turned religion into theater and love into a weapon. The year is 1492. The world is changing. Columbus sails across oceans, and Rodrigo Borgia crosses every moral line. A master manipulator, Rodrigo understood one truth. In Rome, holiness was for sale. Through bribes, promises, and charm, he rose to the highest throne on earth, becoming Pope Alexander VI. He was meant to be the voice of God, but soon became the echo of greed. The Vatican, once a sanctuary of prayer, now shimmered with gold and feasts. Powerful guests dined beneath ceilings painted with angels, while whispers of scandal floated through candlelight. Rodrigo surrounded himself with family, favorites, and forbidden pleasures. Gold clinked where prayer should have whispered. His mistress, Vanosa de Catani, bore him 4 children. His other love, Giulia Farnese, became known across Italy as the Pope's bride. Even the marble walls of the church trembled with rumor that the Pope's heart burned with desire more than devotion. But Rodrigo did not care. For him, power was the truest gospel, and his children were his chosen disciples. From forbidden love to ruthless politics, the Borgias would turn Rome into a stage of passion, betrayal, and power. Their story is not just history, it's temptation written in gold and blood. Among Rodrigo's children, one was born with both a halo and a dagger. Cesare Borgia. Brilliant, ruthless, and dangerously magnetic. At first, he played the role his father gave him, a cardinal in velvet and crimson. But the church could never contain a man like Cesare. He traded the cross for a sword and began carving his destiny in blood. In the shadows of Renaissance Italy, Cesare built an empire. City by city he conquered, Romagna, Forlì, Imola. He moved like smoke, charming 1 hour, lethal the next. His enemies dined with him and disappeared by morning. Some said he carried a dagger laced with poison. Others swore his weapon was simpler: his voice, his smile, his certainty. Even Machiavelli, the father of political realism, watched in awe. He called Cesare the perfect prince, clever, courageous, and utterly without mercy. But behind the steel and cunning, there was a softer bond, one that would haunt history. His sister, Lucrezia Borgia. To some, a saint. To others, a siren. Born into sin, raised in silk. She was beautiful, not with innocence, but with mystery. Her father used her hand in marriage like a chess piece, each husband a pawn to secure power. Her first marriage to Giovanni Sforza ended abruptly, accused of impotence, humiliated before Italy. The truth? He was inconvenient, and inconvenient men rarely survived the Borgias. Soon came another match, Alfonso of Aragon, young, handsome, and doomed. When politics turned, Alfonso became expendable. One night, as he walked the palace halls, masked men attacked. He survived the first attempt, but not the second, strangled in his bed. The whispers pointed to one man, Cesare, and one silent accomplice, Lucrezia. Her beauty became legend. Poets compared her to Venus. Courtiers feared the smile that preceded death. They said she carried a vial of poison in a hollow ring, a single drop enough to erase a name from the world. And then came the whispers that outlived them all, that her love for Cesare ran deeper than blood. They danced together at feasts, their glances lingering too long. Letters between them spoke of longing and loyalty beyond family. Was it sin? Or the world's jealousy, twisting their bond into scandal? History offers no proof, only smoke. But smoke always rises from fire. By 1503, the Borgias had it all: wealth, armies, influence, fear that could silence Rome itself. But power comes at a price, and poison has a way of returning to its master. One sultry summer evening, Pope Alexander VI and his son Cesare dined with their closest confidants. The feast was a spectacle: platters of exotic meats, fruits from distant lands, goblets of wine that gleamed like liquid rubies. Laughter echoed through the hall until it didn't. Moments later, both men collapsed. The poison meant for someone else, but the devil rarely spares his own. The Pope lingered for days, his breathing shallow, the golden hallways now silent but for the soft drip of candles and murmured prayers. Cesare survived, but the fire in his eyes was dimmed forever. Without his father's blessing, Cesare's empire began to crumble. Allies, once loyal, turned their backs. Enemies, once cautious, pressed forward. Battles were lost, cities rebelled, and trust became a weapon he could not wield. Captured, betrayed, hunted across lands he had once ruled, Cesare died in Spain alone. No banners waved, no knights guarded him. Stripped of armor and dignity, history would remember him as a cautionary tale, the prince who almost ruled the world and lost it all. Lucrezia, the jewel of the Borgias, remarried, a political union with the Duke of Ferrara. There she discovered a strange peace, a life far removed from poison and intrigue. She bore children, governed with intelligence and grace, and even won respect from a wary court. Yet the ghosts of her family's sins never left her. Whispers followed her through Ferrara's corridors. By the time she died at 39, the world did not remember her as a duchess, but as a Borgia, a name forever entwined with lust, power, and the shadow of betrayal. Time tried to erase them, but legends do not fade. They ferment, linger, and haunt the corners of memory, The Borgias were more than a family. They were a mirror of the Renaissance itself, a world of brilliance, beauty, corruption, and desire. They turned religion into theater, love into currency, and power into an art form. Their name became both a curse and a warning, a whisper in palaces, a shadow in courts. Yet even as they fell, their influence shaped the world they left behind. They taught kings how to lie with elegance, popes how to rule with cunning, and the world how to sin with style. History remembers the Borgias not just for scandal, but for their daring audacity, their fearless pursuit of passion and power, even when it led to ruin. And in the end, they remind us of an uncomfortable truth. The most dangerous temptations are not of the flesh, but of the soul. If you crave more forbidden tales of power, passion, and deceit, subscribe to Scandalous Histories. Where ambition wears a crown, where love can be a weapon, and history is never pure.